start. All right. Now we are camera 1, 2, 3. Go.
Hello.
So Peter, welcome to my channel.
Thank
So
you.
what do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about relationships, love relationships, um, on a global perspective, but more on China for at first, of how it is for foreign expats and men to
Good.
date women in
Good. So
Beijing.
first of all, introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and how long have you been in China, and what your experience have been. Just talk briefly about it.
Okay, so I've been in China around 6, going on to 7 years, and I mainly came to teach when I first came, but I have a long history in China because I had Chinese friends in England, in the UK, in London, where I grew up, and from there I got to know the Chinese culture through them back in 2001,
All right.
long time ago.
Oh, so you have long connection with China, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you feel now after living in China for 6, 7 years? What do you think about China as a country, Chinese culture, and Chinese people, and other aspects? How are you? Are you having fun here, or are you having difficulties? Because I assume that you don't speak Chinese. So in that perspective, what do you have to say about China as a country?
I think Chinese people as a whole, the average people, are quite kind people, and they try to help you, and the average Chinese person is quite easygoing in the places, for example, that I worked in schools.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good. Glad to hear that.
Especially the young generation.
Right.
The older are a bit stubborn. They might look at you in a strange way. Why you don't know Chinese, for example, or why you are a foreigner because I am. What do you mean? Why I'm a foreigner? They will give you that look. But the younger generation, they like that you are a foreigner sometimes, and also they want to get to know you because they want to go abroad as well.
Right.
So they are totally the opposite to the older generation.
Okay, so good. All right, and so you mentioned in the beginning that you want to talk about relationship, right? So what relationship are you going to talk about? Only for the couple, girlfriend, boyfriend, or husband, wife, or in general? What do you have in mind?
Yeah, so better for the couple, the love relationship. I want to talk about more this because I feel it's a problem in China, and it's a global issue.
Right.
So I feel it's something that needs to be discussed, and I feel that in China both the men and the women have problem in this area. But I feel that in the Western world it's more of a man problem, and I feel it's very serious.
Now that's very interesting that you brought up. What do you think? What are the problems from the Chinese society point of view? What are the things that you say men and women? It's a problem from the both sides. So what kind of problems are you trying to?
So from China point of view, and Chinese people, not expats, right, or foreigners, the Chinese people, the women, for example, when they go to around 30 or 33, they are seen as leftover
Right.
women, and they're not.
That's a
important.
stigma.
Yeah,
That's a stigma in China.
yeah. This is
very
not important anymore, and they should be just left on the shelf. They are no longer needed in society, but more in the marriage, right? They could still go to work somewhere, but in to marry someone, they are not needed. They are useless.
Really?
Yeah.
But how are these women taking this kind of a stigma on them? Do they think they're taking it positively, or they get sad or depressed by hearing all these comments?
No, they hate it, and they feel very hurt. And I will give you an example because I have a social group, that you said it before in the past.
Yeah.
And then in this social group, this lady felt so hurt, obviously Chinese lady, right? Not foreign, right? About what is happening in China. And she's from a place which, kind of people are more expressive to open up to these things. She's from Hong Kong.
Right.
Based in Hong Kong.
Right.
And she came into my group one day out of the blue and opened and gave she actually said in the group she wrote her thesis on the leftover women, and she wrote this whole thing explaining about the leftover women on inside the WhatsApp group.
What was she talking about? Is it a positive thing or a bad thing?
It's a very bad thing, and that women are classed this way, and all the men think this way. So all these women, including myself, she says, I'm like left over and cannot find anyone to marry, and nobody even wants me to as a girlfriend, because the men are thinking long term that if I'm with her, I'll want to marry her in the future. So what's the point of me wasting my time for a girlfriend? You see?
So do you think so? I mean, because I believe those, first of all, why did they become leftovers? Because they were studying and pursuing careers, right?
Yeah, they were studying and they didn't want to get married from the beginning. They want to get married in their mid-30s, or
All right. They didn't want to get married early, right?
Yes, because they have other things they need to be doing.
So now they want to marry, but no one wants to marry them,
no,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, is it a serious issue in China? In a society, Chinese society?
From what I'm seeing, it's a very serious issue. Yeah.
What would be the percentage of women who actually feel left over? But I feel there are these women who are really successful. They have done really good in their studies and also their career, and they're quite successful. Some of them are big bosses, CEOs, and all in some companies. Do you think they also feel the same way? They have the same feelings, or they don't care?
I think those don't care because they've had success in somewhere where they have passion for. So, but what happens to them? I'll tell you what happens to them. When they're 35 or 40, they still feel they're young, right? So they don't really care. But when they get to 50 or 60 and they haven't had a family, where they haven't had a kid, that's where it hits them.
Oh, so they also suffer.
Yeah, when they get to 60, I would say, yeah, at that age. But not when they're 35, 40. They don't care. They have all the life ahead of them. They're so successful.
So what do you think the reasons? Is it historically it's like that, or it's a new trend coming up in China? Because I believe in the like before 1978, when open door policy, Chinese used to get married very young when they were 18, 20, and their job was they used to work as a farmer and all, but primarily their job was to have kids and take care of them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a new trend, right? I would say like since last 40 years when China started growing and achieved quite development, so then started this trend, right?
Yeah, but it's not something that is it's not something that is a movement that started from the young people. It's something in the roots of the history of how in Chinese society they think about this stuff. So for example, the Chinese men, another problem is that this is known fact. If you speak to Chinese people, if you speak to Chinese men, right? They're thinking, their mindset is to, when they are 35 or 40, why should I find someone my own age? I want a young lady. So they want to find someone who's 25 or 20. And I mean, that's a huge gap. So it's the way they're thinking that's creating this problem with the women. Because then the women which are 35, he's not going to want he's 38, 39, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So he wants the young lady. So if he doesn't want the 30 or 35, she's left over. So I think one aspect is definitely the mindset and how the Chinese man thinks. And the other one, I'm guessing, is a cultural thing, because once I googled on the internet, and I saw what's the age that's considered to get married in China, the good age, and it said around 22 to 24.
Right.
Which is, it's too young in Western standards.
Yes, especially if you're studying and all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is these things don't make sense, and I think there are topics that need to be discussed and be somehow get resolved for the Chinese people, and these kind of ways of thinking, So so this video we're doing, even if it'd be good if we even I mean, translate even to Chinese as well for the Chinese audience, because this is purely a Chinese problem.
Of course, of course. And how about Western society? How is it in Western society? What age, women's age, considered to be left over in Western society?
I think the in Western society is like 35 to 37, because after around 36, 37, women cannot have a baby easily.
They cannot have, or it will be difficult to have, right?
Very difficult to
Conceive
have.
baby.
Yeah, very
Okay.
difficult. They can have, but it's very difficult to have. And usually, because it's very difficult to have, it's kind of leading towards cannot have.
So, don't you think it's a problem created by this capitalism? I'm not capitalism, like economic development, because people want to become rich first or do whatever they want to do, and then they want to get married. They set the marriage as a last priority, I would say, right? They
Yeah,
wanted to
this
make
is
career,
definitely
right?
one
So
aspect.
it's
Yeah,
one. It's like they want to have money, they want to have a status, and then they want to get married.
yeah,
And maybe because as far as I know, in China, though it looks very modern society, but society is very traditional. For example, if a girl gets into a family, she has to take care of a lot of pressures, societal pressure. Like she has to take care of her mother-in-laws and father-in-laws and all the relatives, a lot of traditional stuff, right? So they feel, no, I don't want, I'm not ready for that. Maybe they were not ready for that, because you have to literally sacrifice all your personal life to take care of your family affairs. Don't you think so in China? So most of the women, they decide, no, I'm not ready for that. Maybe I will do something which I like and later on get married. But problem is, the Chinese are being traditional society. People are not accepting that if you are 35, 30, 34, 33 or 35, people think you are now overaged. You are not, no one wants you. That's why they call it leftover, right?
yeah.
So economic is the main reason, right? Economic
Yes, I
development.
think it's the main. That's the main reason. And but in the Western world, if a guy is 35 or 36, he would still want a lady who's 35 or 34, 1 or 2 years younger. He won't mind. And people who are over 40 in the Western world, in Europe, for example, where I'm from, they will still want to date in their 40s, if they're not married in their 50s, and still find someone the same. They will not have those kind of
Thoughts.
box type
That, all
thinking,
right, yeah.
you know.
So what is it? It's like society, the people are not matured here in Asia, in China?
Mm, I think the society has made many rules, and these rules are the master kind of these are the kind of the things that the society and people need to follow.
Even
And
even my idea is like that. If I am 35 and I should marry who is 33 or 30, maybe 30, not 18 years old, because I think you should have some common things to talk about. You cannot talk for a longer duration or as a conversation with 18 years old girl, right? She doesn't have any experience of life. She's just starting, right? So
you
for me,
see, for
yeah.
you, you've lived quite long in China, but you're from India, which is still the Western world, you know, different thinking. Whereas here, the thinking is this specific kind of thinking for this kind of thing.
Hmm.
And if you speak to most men, I think 90 to
They would
95%
prefer
think this
younger,
way. The
younger.
Chinese men.
They would prefer younger girls, right?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay. So this is the end. Okay, good.